We did the best presidents, the top 15 best presidents. Now it's time for the 15 worst presidents. In my opinion, of course, I'm always biased. Granted, now I came to the 15th one. I already done my 14 ones. And then there's the fact of all the exempt ones, like the modern ones and the dead ones. The ones that died really quick, I should say. And all the 15 best ones. There's only a few presidents left. And there's all sorts of ones. And I couldn't decide which one would make the 15th worst. And at the end of the day, it came down to John Quincy Adams. Because I felt those other ones that were the few left were just better than him. Like, I don't really think this guy's that bad of a president. I think he's just mediocre at best. So I should tell you, even the 15th one is mediocre at best. So I think I should tell you my confidence in all the presidents. But the reasons why he landed 15 was, well, he really shouldn't have been president because of the corrupt bargain, which I do believe the corrupt bargain was a genuine thing, not just a hissy fit by Jacksonians. Like, the country clearly chose Andrew Jackson over everyone else. Though me personally, I would have voted for Crawford. I feel like he would have been the best. And also, just to warn you, if you hear any background noise, since it's New Year's, it's a celebration. Jackson Jefferson Goated taking a visit. You hear any background noise, it's him. Get a glimpse of what the real one's like, not the one on the YouTube. Granted, it's pretty close to how he is on YouTube, so it's nothing too drastic. And also, some of the reasons why the corrupt bar. So he really never should have been president. The only thing that was keeping him high was the fact he had 2 alligators. Then I recently learned that's not even a thing. And also the tariff abominations, which would lead to the nullification crisis. The nullification crisis, which was like the first ever crisis, almost came close to civil war without it actually breaking out. It all was on his hands. And also some of this good stuff he planned out, he just couldn't do. Horribly ineffective on the good things, so yeah, he landed on 15. Number 14 is John Tyler. Again, not too bad of a president, and the main thing people hate him for is because he joined the Confederacy. But that wasn't while he was president, so I won't be judging him for that. Though granted, it is a terrible thing. So if I was going to rank these presidents based off like how much of a good or bad person they were, then yeah, he'd definitely be higher. But as it stands, he was just ineffective. Alienated by both parties. He was a Whig, but with Democratic policies. Reason why he wasn't a Democrat is because he sided with John C. Calhoun in the nullification crisis, supported South Carolina's to nullify the federal tariffs, and the party of mostly Jacksonians was displeased by that, so they kicked him out. And the Whigs were displeased by him vetoing the National Bank, so they kicked him out again. So, very few got along with John Tyler. He tends to alienate. He also alienated his countrymen just not too bright when it came to, not too politically bright by alienating everyone around him. But terribly ineffective too. Most stuff he wanted couldn't be done because of the Congress was either full of Democrats that hated him or Whigs that hated him. All he could do was just veto. That's the only real power he could have. Ugh. Please.
You keep that in.
If I find out how to edit, I don't know how to edit. I'm really bad at making videos, so this is gonna have to stay in.
Edit that out.
I'm not gonna edit this out because I don't know how to. I'm bad at making videos.
Whoops.
Ugh.
Ignore me.
It's kind of hard not to. It's kind of hard not to. I do apologize for him.
Got one of them dumb Gatorade water bottles.
Anyway. So yeah, terribly.
First time I've interrupted a video.
Terribly ineffective president. And all the stuff he could do was pretty bad because he fielded a division between North and South and the party divisions. Though, not a very unifying man. But he did annex Texas, which was pretty good, because I do support annexing Texas is a pretty good idea. And also him becoming president set the foundation so other better presidents could be president. So that's good. So that's why he didn't make the top 10. Second term, Grover Cleveland. Nothing went right. He didn't cause the problems, so he doesn't get too high. But he couldn't fix them either. And also he made his goddaughter when she was like in her early 20s, when he was pushing 50. So yeah, he's pretty bad. Richard Nixon, Watergate. Watergate was pretty bad. Very corrupt, trying to leak out spy on political opponents when you're guaranteed a win is so unnecessary.
now you mention Watergate. Your first two takes, you didn't mention it.
Yeah, this is the third take because of him and all his background noises. I forgot to mention Watergate. But now I do mention Watergate. Watergate pretty messed up.
You didn't mention the terrible abominations for Quincy Adams anyway.
They probably
I
can't.
think Quincy Adams should be lower.
Oh, shut it, you Jacksonian.
Whatever.
Anyway, also illegal bombings of Cambodia. Pretty bad. Gold standard, too. Not as much as a extreme gold standard supporter, but I do feel like that it was for the best to keep it. Not a good president. Though, moon landing, so that keeps him out of the top 10. W. 08, financial crisis, the Great Recession. Iraq, Afghanistan, Patriot Act, No Child Left Behind. Hurricane Katrina. Absolutely nothing in this man's administration went right. We have modern day Republicans that hate this man, that think he was a bad president. So that's why he's the most modern president I think can be ranked.
No recency bias, right?
I mean, I guess. But I feel like nothing went right while he was president. The best thing he did was the first pitch, and that's more ceremonial than literal policy.
I'd switch W. Bush and Quincy Adams.
Oh, shut it, you biased Jacksonian.
Oh, whatever.
Nothing in this man's administration went right. And it's a lot more consensus that he's about. So he's the most modern president I feel can be ranked without any political bias. Because Donald Trump's political rise started because he criticized George W. Bush and his brother Jeb. Criticizing his brother Jeb. So, yeah, I feel like he can be ranked. And since nothing went right, he makes the top of it. But, he's a bit of a goofball. I've seen various videos. He's very funny. With such wise quotes as, I believe human beings and fish could coexist peacefully. So that keeps him out of the top 10. Benjamin Harrison. All those problems I talked about with Grover Cleveland came to the financial crisis of Panic Rate, 1893. It started under him because of his idiotic tariff policies. I don't like tariffs, so it's a little biased. But, it objectively failed. And also, he gave the army orders to kill a bunch of Indians and passed out medals of honor like candy for a massacre. It's pretty bad. What else did he do? What else happened? What else? I feel like there was something else. Your Panic in 1893, Wounded Knee Massacre. I feel like there's something I'm forgetting. Probably not. It was probably not too important if I forgot it. Oh, yeah, and I also tried to pass civil rights bills and conservation bills, but couldn't get it done, so pretty ineffective. Although he did get the Sherman Antitrust Act passed, but even then he couldn't really do much with it until Theodore Roosevelt. So he makes the top. He's the first one to make the top 10. LBJ, Great Society of Vietnam, very bad policies. The only thing he did right was the Civil Rights Act and Voting Rights Act, and that was all. And JFK did all the work for it. So granted, LBJ was able to get it passed, so he's pretty effective. So I'll give him credit for that. But Vietnam was a very pointless war, and we lost, and I don't like that. A lot of young men either got crippled for life without any legs, or had aspirations to enter the shrimping business, all shattered by LBJ. And even if you did make it to the shrimping business, all this job-crushing regulation, you probably couldn't meet those dreams because of LBJ. So very bad president. Warren Harding. His corruption, I feel, like scandals such as Teapot Dome, I feel like it blows Watergate out of the water. Yeah, I see what I did. You probably see what I did there. And also, he just wasn't smart. He said himself that he was not fit for being president and shouldn't have been there. He himself said that. So I guess humility for being able to admit that. Couldn't keep up with the presidency, so he died of a heart attack. Gerald Ford was president longer than this guy. But he was able to fix some of Woodrow Wilson's problems. In fact, he was still somehow the better candidate in 1920. That should tell you a lot. Return to normalcy was pretty good, I guess. And his death did give us Calvin Coolidge, so there are stuff to Warren Harding, but nothing else went right. Also just corrupt as hell. Probably the most corrupt president. Mainly his cabinet, but they were all his buddies. Drinking a bunch of expensive alcohols during Prohibition. Yeah, that should tell you a lot. Mill Fillmore. The Fugitive Slave Act was a big mistake. There is a slap in the face to all the black people and all the slaves, even the freed ones. So it was terrible. It lead to the Civil War. Future divisions to lead to the Civil War. So yeah, that was very bad. That was one of the few things he was able to do, a part of the Compromise of 1850. Zachary Taylor was right to oppose it, but then here he is signing into law, which was very bad for the country. So I don't think he was a very good president. He was president on such short notice after Taylor's death. He wasn't president long, but the only thing he really could do were harmful things such as the Fugitive Slave Act. Though he did open relations with Japan, which I guess is nice. The Great Depression. He turned what would have been just a recession. That would have been like a year or maybe at worst. Then with his idiotic tariff policies, turned it to the Great Depression. Although FDR's New Deal's policies didn't help either. But Herbert Hoover, man, he was somehow less effective at nullifying the Great Depression. Watch a Reagan speech on tariffs. It will reveal the problems with tariffs. And all of that is proven through Herbert Hoover, through the Smoot-Hawley Tariff Act. The best argument against tariffs, you could use that to cite that for your argument against tariffs. Like the Smoot-Hawley Tariff Act could prove that that tariffs don't work. Especially nowadays. So very bad President Hoover. Just all throughout his presidency was just poverty. Just some of the worst economic crisis in history so far. It hasn't been beaten yet. If it does, that's God forbid. But as it stands, Herbert Hoover's just awful. Woodrow Wilson. He was very racist. That's bad. He created the income tax in the Federal Reserve. That's bad. Created the League of Nations, but couldn't get his own country to join it, which would lead to it failing. That's bad. Created a bunch of 14 points, though admittedly good ideas, couldn't get into the Treaty of Versailles. Again, that's bad. When people spoke out against him, he had them arrested, including political opponents. And that's an extreme abuse of federal power and government power, even though against what our founding fathers intended, especially Thomas Jefferson. Well, not really John Adams, but mainly people like Thomas Jefferson. That's bad. You sense a pattern. There's something bad about this president. I feel like when it comes to Woodrow Wilson, he's definitely the internet's least favorite president. It's always hating on Woodrow Wilson. For good reason. Very bad president. Just horrible president. There was a labor strike. He sent the army to quell it, and they killed women, men, and children. That's also bad. Though, he did give women the rights to vote and the direct election of senators. Those are good things, in my opinion. So there's some good to come out of Woodrow Wilson. Which is not much. I guess his leadership in World War I, besides the Sedition and Espionage Acts, everything else he did was alright. So that prevents him from being further from higher up. Marvin Van Buren, I think he's worse purely for the fact a lot of the bad, but nothing good to counteract it. He didn't give women the right to vote, no direct election of senators, no effective leadership during a war. Marvin Van Buren has none of that. But all the other problems, he has a lot of problems and no good to counteract it. So that's why I think he's worse. Trail of Tears, the event people call the Trail of Tears when the Cherokee got moved. That's why he was president. Panic of 1837, the worst financial crisis in American history up to that point. That's why he was president. Very ineffective, couldn't do anything to solve the problems, and it would lead to him losing in a landslide to William Henry Harrison. So, yeah, very bad president. Franklin Pierce. A lot of similar bad problems, very few of the good, and his problems led to the Civil War. When the country needed unity, he was too busy drinking himself silly. Kansas-Nebraska Act, that was the final nail in the coffin of the Civil War. There was even a mini Civil War in Kansas, bleeding Kansas with the Kansas-Nebraska Act. If he wasn't causing tensions, nailing the final coffin, nailing the coffin, when he wasn't doing that or creating division, he was drunk. Not the right headspace or mentality to be president after his son died. I don't think it was probably for the best if he did not become president. Though he did limit the debt, so I guess that's good. Now, granted, that doesn't have much impact today, considering how high it is, so I don't think that really matters. You know, the Gadsden Purchase, it was like a tiny bit of land. It's nothing compared to Polk or Jefferson. So even then, those are the only good things he did, and they're not really that good. You know, he was a Northerner, yet a heavy supporter of slavery. That's bad. James Buchanan. What's James Buchanan? When the country, all the problems of the previous administrations that would lead to the Civil War, it all came crashing down while he was president, and he did nothing about it. You know, he's kind of like the opposite of Abraham Lincoln. Lincoln freed the slaves and saved the country. He did not free the slaves, and he did not save the country. He's the final straw. He's the straw that broke the camel's back, leading to the Civil War. The state seceded while he was president, and he did nothing. He didn't want them to, but he didn't do anything about it. He said they had no right, but he would still let it happen. No spine with James Buchanan. One of the most spineless presidents and laziest presidents and most ineffective president we've ever had. And also supporting the Dred Scott case would definitely hinder, would have hindered the emancipation if it weren't for Abraham Lincoln. Just the only good thing he did was getting Brigham Young out, and Brigham Young was a terrible governor, which was installed by Millard Fillmore, which made him was another thing that makes him a bad president. At least he got him out. That's the only good thing he did. And since he did a good thing, that's why he's better than Andrew Johnson. Andrew Johnson. Reconstruction was completely and totally ruined from Abraham Lincoln's vision. It was all completely ruined by Andrew Johnson. Black people would have to fight hundreds of years for civil rights. And that fight probably wouldn't have been as harsh if it wasn't for Andrew Johnson. Jim Crow, all that white-only laws, it all comes from Andrew Johnson. He ruined this country for hundreds of years when it came to the grounds of civil rights. He is easily the worst civil rights president that didn't own slaves. It's easily him. And he never should have been president if Abraham Lincoln was killed. We were so close to dodging him, but he still became president. It's a very painful reminder. He was never elected. He never should have been president only because Lincoln got killed. We could have had something far great when it came to the grounds of civil rights. It was all ruined by Andrew Johnson. He was far more racist than Woodrow Wilson. He did not give women the rights to vote. He didn't kick out a terrible governor. He didn't lower the debt. He didn't lower He did? Well, nowhere near as much as some of these other presidents, although apparently he did lower the debt. Never mind. But nowhere near enough. He didn't pay it off like the other Andrew J. son. He didn't lower it by half like Franklin Pierce. He didn't kick out a terrible governor. He didn't open relations with Japan. He didn't give women the right to vote. He didn't limit government spending like Warren Harding. We never went to the moon while he was president like with Richard Nixon. Every other president has something good. Not Andrew Johnson. Well, except for Alaska. So I guess that's good, but it doesn't, the bad outweighs the good so much. Thank God Grant became president after him. Well, yeah, I think that concludes this video. Those are the people, and after this, I done 15 best presidents and 15 worst presidents, and there's 6 presidents that are exempt. So there's 10 presidents that didn't make either list. So I took all those presidents, and they're technically in the middle. So they're the most mid presidents. So I'll make a list of all the presidents I haven't ranked. They're right here. Here's a little sneak peek on who's going to be there. So that'll be in my next video I make. So I'm just going to keep making content. No AI moderation terminating channels is going to stop me. After this, we'll see. Alright, that's all I have to say about that.